Hello, I'm Leila McKinnon. Welcome to A Current Affair. First tonight, they say they're not going to leave you waiting on the phone anymore. In fact, Centrelink has put on 250 extra staff to make that happen. But has it worked? We put them to the test.
One morning I started at 8. I think I got through at 2.
My aspiration is certainly to avoid those very long waits.
That was the promise from then Human Services Minister Alan Tudge at the end of last year, adding extra staff to cut down on horrendous waiting times.
We haven't done this before, where we've used a private provider to answer some of these calls.
Private provider Serco started 8 weeks ago in a multi-million-dollar pilot program with 250 extra staff to handle calls. But has it made any difference?
One morning I started at 8. I think I got through at 2.
Tracy Beadnell recently spent days trying to get through to Centrelink after they claimed she had a debt owing.
And this debt was started from $25,000 and then it went up to $30,000.
As these screenshots show, on her first attempt she was on the phone for 132 minutes. That's more than 2 hours. On another day, 92 minutes. Another, 118 minutes.
To the point where I couldn't sleep. I was sick, just really high anxiety all the time.
Then there were the times where she couldn't even get through.
There was a day where I'd made too many phone calls and a recording came up saying, "We can see that you've already tried to call us today," and then suggests you to go on to the website.
So are the new workers helping the problem? Last year, when we tried the families and the disability and carers lines, we waited over an hour on each to get through, while the employment line was constantly engaged.
So 7th time, still engaged.
So how about now?
The government still claims the average wait for a Centrelink call is around 15 minutes. We've now been on hold for about 17 minutes on the carers line.
After 43 minutes, finally an answer.
How long do you have to wait?
It was about 45 minutes.
Well, it used to be an hour, so it's slightly improved.
Last year when we tried the employment line, we got an engaged signal multiple times. So now we're trying it again.
This time it wasn't engaged, and after 39 minutes, an answer.
Hi, Guy speaking. How can I help you today?
Finally, the families line.
Engaged. Again, user busy. 3rd time, user busy. So 4th time, we're trying the families line.
Last time we waited more than an hour. This time, just 36 minutes.
Thanks for your patience. How can I help you?
It's an improvement, but for people like Tracy, it's little comfort. She had to eventually go into a Centrelink shop to have her debt wiped when it was found to be an administrative error.
Go in and speak face to face because it worked for me.
Centrelink says the new workers have only been on board for 8 weeks and that they hope that the waits will reduce further. And you can read their full statement on our website. We've seen the violence, the despairing mums, the frightened neighbours. Victorians have been crying out for something to be done about African youth violence. Today, police and community leaders announced the creation of a task force. But is it the solution? I spoke to the Chief Commissioner of Victoria Police, Graham Ashton, a short time ago. Chief Commissioner, thank you for joining us. Is this a softly approach, or will law enforcement still have teeth when it comes to targeting violent offenders?
Well, we've certainly been bearing our teeth for quite a while. We've made a lot of arrests over the particular last 12 months in this area, and we'll continue to do it. No doubt at its core, you've got some young people that are committing offences. They go into jail, we put them behind bars, they get out, and then they continue to re-offend. We'll continue to bare our teeth in dealing with that, and we'll certainly have a no-nonsense approach.
Is this task force set up as a preventative exercise? What are you hoping for?
Preventative, but also response, Leila, so we can get onto things quickly. We've certainly been taking a zero tolerance approach to the offending that we've been getting and making many arrests. but at the same time we want to get to issues quickly.
What have you heard from the community in setting up this task force? What have you learned?
Well, we certainly know that we get a lot of issues we've been dealing with for some time are things like home invasions, carjackings and that sort of crimes. Our response model for that's pretty quick. We're able to get on and arrest those people pretty quickly. And to stop them from reoffending. But what's changed more lately, and this is where we think the community can help us more, is in relation to public order offending, so gathering in large groups and then offending. In recent times we've had rocks thrown at police, houses trashed and this sort of thing. This is where we think we can get some better information from community to stop that from occurring. So for us, the meetings today, we're hearing about that. That's changed, and so that's something that's been escalating that we want to deal with, so that was new. On the other side of the argument there, we also heard today about racial vilification and targeting of members of the African Australian community, law-abiding members of the African Australian community, which of course is the vast majority of that community. They've also been having it tough at the moment. We also heard from them firsthand about that.
Well, Chief Commissioner, I know you're a very busy man. Thank you.
Thanks, Layla.
Victoria Police Chief Commissioner Graham Ashton. Still to come, Hollywood's excitement around speculation that their biggest talk show queen could be running for president.
I just hope President Winfrey gives me occasional rides on Air Force One.
And we preview this year's must-have home technology that promises to revolutionise our lives. Those reports coming up. Now to a controversial legal defence used in Australia's criminal court system. If someone is found not guilty because of mental impairment, it can add further heartache to a victim's family, which is why it's often the subject of fierce debate. Tonight, why one former politician wants it scrapped altogether.
The pair died from multiple stab wounds inflicted at their Moonee Ponds home.
Mental health has many shapes and forms.
Kundarachi, a former Turkish soldier, took off his runners and gained entry just before 11 p.m.
It is torture. You're shocked. You're absolutely shocked to your core. You don't think anything could get any worse, and then you have to enter the court system.
I totally disagree with the concept that just because you have a mental illness, you're therefore at risk to the community.
We've got to give every person the right to enter their own defence.
Mad or bad? It's the premise constantly argued in some of the highest courts in the land.
The way I would have done it, which I was taught in the army, is to cut her throat.
The judge said Freeman had sought to explain his actions to his two remaining sons, who it was noted would have overheard their father's phone threat to kill them. Defence lobbied for a minimum, while an unkempt Freeman said he wanted to dismiss his defence team.
Innocent couple killed in a frenzied attack.
Take the case against Mustafa Kundarachi, for example. He's a double murderer. The family of Greg Tucker and Corinne Aylward supported each other after sitting in court with the man who viciously murdered their loved ones. He stabbed a Melbourne mother and father to death over a financial dispute. Corinne Aylward and her husband Gregory Tucker dying just metres from their 3 young children. They'd been preparing for bed inside their own home when Kundarachi snuck inside.
She was screaming and crying, and I just couldn't believe it, and I was, I guess, in lots of shock, heartbroken, and I think I was in such disbelief that I got someone to take me to the house.
Maria Aylward is one of Corinne's surviving sisters. She endured 2 years of court proceedings against her sister's killer. The torturous process drawn out further while he tried to claim the defence of mental impairment.
He keeps using the system, and the system is that he realises that they can try on the mental illness, and it just makes it longer and longer and longer, and it's like twisting a knife.
What about the people against whom they've committed the crime? Surely they deserve to have in place a system that respects life and respects property.
Former Victorian Premier Jeff Kennett, who spent years at the helm of mental health organisation Beyond Blue, wants the mental impairment defence scrapped.
There are many people who go before the courts, people who don't have English as a good knowledge, people who don't have education. They are not excused from the court procedure because they don't understand the procedures.
The court's not a mind reader. I'm not a mind reader,
But Kenneth's argument doesn't sit well with the man responsible for some of Australia's most pivotal courtroom psychological assessments, Dr. Gary Banks.
But I don't think we as a society, especially a democratic one, could ever challenge or reject the person's right to ever be able to use that defence.
How hard is it for someone to feign mental impairment in front of you?
I certainly have a lot of experience looking at the consistency of people's recollections, and it's very difficult to lie consistently over time.
Kundarachi failed in his bid to be acquitted on the grounds of mental impairment, but female killer Eva Whitecross successfully proved she suffered from a delusional disorder when she killed her neighbour, Rachel Tyquin.
To successfully argue the defence of mental impairment, a legal team must establish its argument on the grounds of insanity, that a defendant didn't know what they were doing, or if they did, that they didn't know it was wrong.
There's more to the assessment too. This is a complicated area of law.
Assessment, if you like, of the person's capacity to understand what's going to go on in the courtroom, and then their understanding of how they're going to conduct themselves.
There's a perception defendants are abusing the defence at the moment, though. There was controversy in Queensland last year when killer Dennis Wakefield stabbed his de facto wife to death and then apologised, leading many to believe he knew what he'd done was wrong. But he escaped conviction on the grounds of mental impairment. Jeff Kennett argues everyone should have to face court and mental impairment should only come into play during sentencing.
My argument is that those people should be brought before the courts. The court should deal with them on the facts before them. If found guilty, the judge can then take into account the arguments re health.
You find that most people don't claim mentally ill until they're in a courtroom after they've hurt someone. But if they are...
Maria Aylward disagrees, saying victims need to be protected from a prolonged legal process. Psychological assessments should be much stricter before offenders even get to court.
If they're just trying to go the system, it needs to be shut down, and it needs to be shut down fast.
In Victoria, the defence is set to face increased scrutiny. It's an election year and law and order will be the #1 issue. Opposition Attorney General John Pesutto has seized on it.
Now, the Andrews government is proposing to expand the mental impairment regime, and what I mean by that is they are looking to allow more people into that regime.
The Victorian government disagrees and says it wants the opposite, to improve protection of the community.
In terms of your experience with the justice system in Victoria, how would you describe it?
It's woeful. It's disgusting. You feel like you're the bad person.
And law and order will be a massive issue facing the Andrews government in Victoria ahead of this November's state election. The Premier and his Police Commissioner, who we heard from earlier this evening, will be hoping for some change well before then. We approached the Victorian government for a full interview on this issue, but it provided a statement which you can read on our website. Well, gadgets that will do the housework for you. How good does that sound? And TVs that recognise your voice, washing machines that text you. Home life is just about to get a whole lot easier.
There is absolutely no doubt that this is the world's best TV.
The TVs are bigger.
We've never seen technology like this in the home.
Change the lights to the colour pink. Devices are smarter.
These products all talk to each other, making the lives of Australians simpler and easier.
Some will even do the housework for you.
Throw away our instruction manual.
The latest and greatest from the tech giants. And the weird and wonderful you'll have to see to believe.
We're in Las Vegas for the world's biggest tech show.
More than 4,000 exhibiting companies, taking up as much space as 9 MCGs. This is the Consumer Electronics Show.
They're calling it the intelligence of things. Every Samsung device is now smart, can recognise the sound of your voice and connects to almost any other device in the house, no matter the brand.
You could, for example, be in the lounge and you're ready to go to bed, or you're falling asleep watching that movie. You can then say, Bixby, I'm going to bed. Through the voice recognition, it will know what bedroom is yours. It will carry the movie onto your TV. It will dim the lights to where you want them to be. It will set the air conditioning to where you want it to be. And it'll also turn your phone on silent because it knows to get a good night's sleep, you can't have your phone ringing.
Gary McGregor is the director of Samsung Australia. He vows that by 2020, all of Samsung's devices will be internet connected. They'll also have Bixby, Samsung's own voice assistant.
With a Samsung product, you can control things like a Ring doorbell or Bose speakers, trying to make it very clear that we can buy a range of products that will become a smart home.
Tech expert Trevor Long says Samsung is one of the first companies to allow you to connect devices from different brands.
We don't have to buy everything on day one. You're not going to buy a whole home full of products. You're going to buy things now and then over the course of the years.
Now, if this all sounds like an episode of The Jetsons to you, let us take you inside Samsung's home of the future.
This is the ultimate smart home. So what we have in here is products, objects that are essentially turning smart.
It could be only a matter of years before our living rooms replicate this one.
Whether it be your table, your chair, your light, there is a thumb-sized chip in each of these products that will recognise you, take your voice commands and then move them and carry out the actions that you wish.
How far from Las Vegas to Sydney, Australia? Change the lights to the colour fuchsia.
One of the cool things we're bringing out this year is we're going to have Google assisted TVs, so you can use your remote, talk to your remote and ask a question.
Angus Jones is from LG. The tech giant is also making devices smarter. Some will even do your chores for you, like the Twin Wash Thin Q.
Once the washing's finished, it sends you a message to your phone or to your TV, and you know that the washing's finished, it's not being left in there for hours.
But the biggest competition is still in the TV space, and Samsung could very well take it out with the Wall.
There is absolutely no doubt that this is the world's best TV.
Hasmarty is the head of product at Samsung. He says the Wall offers the ultimate viewing experience, incredible definition without restrictions to size or resolution. Samsung touts the Wall as the world's first modular TV, allowing you to adjust its size to best fit your space. The product doesn't yet have a price, but rumour has it the TV could cost more than a brand new car. Last year, LG brought us the TV thinner than a $2 coin. This year, it's wallpaper thin. CES may offer a glimpse into the groundbreaking technology from some of the biggest players on the planet. But there are also smaller brands with a lot to offer.
Trevor, there are countless TVs on show here at CES, but you seem to be pretty impressed by this one.
Yeah, this is Hisense's new TV and it's got 1,000 zones of dimming. Very geeky thing to say, but essentially it means they're trying to make these blacks much blacker and highlight the brights, which is something that OLED, the best TV technology, does simply.
Trevor says Hisense is offering the best value for money new TV.
Hisense saw more actual TVs than any other company in Australia. On dollar value, Samsung's the number one, but Hisense TVs are in more Australian lounge rooms every year than any other brand.
Manufacturer of home appliances Whirlpool is another to keep your eye on. The US company will offer Aussie's smart home features and appliances on a budget in 2018. Whirlpool's appliances are internet connected and can be operated from your iPad. Mazier Teyepi is from Whirlpool. He's scanning the items in the fridge to generate recipes based on the food inside.
You can just pull out your phone, wave it like a magic wand across the refrigerator and get inspired with recipes right out of the gates.
Well, let's get cooking.
It seems while our devices may be getting smarter, we are getting lazier. This robot by Ecovacs is washing windows.
The first of its kind, we're going to launch it in Australia this year and it will be priced under $1,000.
CES is Disneyland for all things tech. So it was only fitting that Trevor and I hopped on board Samsung's virtual roller coaster.
This is the future of amusement park rides. It's virtual reality. This thing, the seats will move and we'll be able to look around. It'll be like we're really on a ski lift. It's amazing.
I'm not going to lie, I'm afraid of rides, I'm afraid of heights.
So am I.
You can hold my hand if you need to. Oh my God. That was really scary.
That was too realistic. I've never done that before, and I've been to a lot of these shows, and that's as realistic as it comes.
And of course, it wouldn't be a tech show without a walking, talking robot. Meet Buddy. We're told she's the perfect mix between a personal assistant, an iPad, and a pet.
I am Buddy.
Hi, Buddy. How are you?
I am fine, thank you. I hope that you are having a lovely day.
After the break, could she be the next US president?
For too long, women have not been heard or believed if they dared to speak their truth to the power of those men. But their time is up.
Welcome back. Could Oprah kick Trump out of the White House? After her barnstorming speech at the Golden Globes, it's not out of the question. Those closest to her say she's seriously considering running in 2020.
For too long, women have not been heard or believed if they dared to speak their truth to the power of those men. But their time is up.
2020, I'm wondering if you've narrowed down your short list of VP candidates. Oh, she's lost her mind now.
Yeah, Oprah would be a lot of fun.
Donald Trump has really made the office of the presidency the original soap opera that it always was.
The political commentators are talking.
Would she have access to money? Well, she has $2 billion of her own money.
Hollywood's talking.
I just hope President Winfrey gives me occasional rides on Air Force One.
Could Oprah Winfrey be the ultimate antidote to Donald Trump?
When he says that she won't run, I mean, that's his version of fake news. Of course she'll run.
He's arguably the most controversial US president in history. She built an empire and amassed a cult following through her own show. They're both TV stars in their own right, but you couldn't find two more polar opposite potential candidates.
No, I like Oprah. I don't think she's going to run.
Maybe he knows something we don't, because back in this interview with Larry King in 1999, he discussed running for president himself, and look who he wanted by his side.
Do you have a vice presidential candidate in mind?
Well, I really haven't gotten quite there yet.
It's just
Oprah. I love Oprah. Oprah would always be my first choice.
Of course, the question isn't whether she would run, because she will, she probably will, or whether she could win, because she could probably win. The real question is, could she do a good job at the presidency?
I do think she's intrigued by the idea. She loves this country and would like to be of service in some way.
Right now, Oprah's about 11-1, but keep in mind, when Donald Trump ran, he was 60-1, facing 16 opponents when he started.
While building her brand for decades on daytime television, Oprah has also been somewhat of a political figure, all while amassing a global movement behind her. Professor of Security and Diplomacy at RMIT, Joseph Siracusa.
She's got a huge following. She's got the cult thing going on, and I think celebrity today is important.
The rules of the game have changed in American politics. If you've already established your brand, you're ahead of the game.
You could just keep it in Hollywood, you know? You could have The Rock as the, Joint Chiefs of Staff.
But does America really need another celebrity president?
These candidates who are coming forward today only have this popular appeal. Does it translate into votes and into effective legislation? Well, that remains to be seen.
It's a mad world, isn't it? The things that make you grateful to live in a parliamentary democracy. After the break, we've got an important development in the mystery surrounding the death of 21-year-old cheerleader Bree Robinson.
You accept any responsibility for what happened to young Bree?